Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another installment of Dissecting the Macabre. Today, we're going to be talking about Scream. Y'all knew this was coming. You knew I was going to talk about Scream at some point. So obviously, Scream is directed by Wes Craven, stars Neve Campbell, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox, and it's about Sydney, played by Neve Campbell, whose mother was murdered a year prior to the events of the movie, and then in present day, her and her friends find themselves hunted by the same killer. Scream was written by what I think is the brilliant Kevin Williamson, and then Wes Craven was brought on to direct it, which interestingly, he was kind of considering stepping away from the genre for a little bit at that time. I don't know if he was considering completely leaving it, but he was considering stepping away at that time. But Craven was brought on because, you know, at Miramax, they thought he was going to be the best candidate to kind of bring this script to life with like the horror and comedy elements. Best decision they ever made, in my opinion. And Williamson, interestingly enough, was slightly inspired by the Gainesville Ripper, who... It was just, I can't even remember the details of it now. I think it was just like some guy killed a bunch of people at a party. Is that the right one I'm thinking about? I'm not sure. I did post a video kind of about this not too long ago. I'll link it. I can never remember where it pops up. I think it's over here. I'll link it up there. I kind of talked about it. It was more about, you know, that crazy classmate that when I like put her on blast and put her post on the internet. Probably not the smartest idea. I'll link that up there. Definitely watch it. So kind of the biggest thing about Scream that everybody knows about Scream is kind of like its theme of self-reflectiveness. So the cast of characters here are all aware of horror movies. They've seen all the horror movies that we've seen. They've seen Halloween, they've seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, they've seen Friday the 13th, they've seen Prom Night, they've seen all the horror movies. They know all the cliches, they know all the conventions, and then they're put into a horror movie situation. So it becomes a lot about how they react to this. So it's interesting. You know, a lot of people point out like there's moments where they defy the genre conventions, like when Sydney has sex with her boyfriend Billy and she still manages to survive at the end. So they kind of explore that, like, will the audience think like, oh, she's gonna die then now, you know, she signed her death warrant. And there's other times where they follow the genre conventions. Again, when Sydney is talking to the killer on the phone for the first time and she demolishes horror movies for, you know, having females that make poor decisions like running upstairs and they should be running out the front door. And what is the first thing that she does when she gets attacked by Ghostface? She runs upstairs. It's really interesting to see how they play with the conventions, and even kind of where they where they kind of do both, where they follow a horror movie cliche but also break it at the same time. One scene, which is a really good example, is all the way at the beginning with Drew Barrymore. As she's being attacked, there's a point where Casey backs out of a door, like she's backing up to one of her doors that lead outside, you know, and backs outside and goes around the house. And you know, whenever we see a character do that in a horror movie or in a slasher movie, we're expecting them to back up into the killer, like when she go, like, so it's like she's doing the classic thing that you shouldn't do, like backing up into something, but then she doesn't end up running into the killer. So it's like at the same time they're following the convention but then breaking it at the same time. So it's like messing with your expectations. So you really don't know where the movie is going to go the first time you watch it. You don't you find yourself kind of thrown off guard, like you think you know horror movies, but then it's like, now I don't know whether, you know, they're they're gonna do the stupid thing and run up the stairs, or we don't know if they aren't gonna do the stupid thing, and like what would happen if they did something smart. What would happen if this character has sex? What's gonna happen if this character doesn't have sex? You know what I mean? When it came out, Scream was a hit. It was an instant hit. Everyone loved it. Everyone loved how it, you know, took a look at the horror genre while at the same time being a scary movie. Everyone was touting the score written by Marco Beltrami. More than anything, Scream is credited with reviving not only just the slasher movie, but the horror genre. So up until this point, you know, the slasher heyday of the 80s was over. It was, you know, there was kind of like a dead period for the slashers where nothing was really happening. And then Scream comes along and just kind of blows everything out of the water, and even kind of created a sub-genre. Like if a slasher is like a subgenre of horror, then like the meta slasher is like the subgenre of that, which I say all the time. Like it's just like it's its own category at this point. Like there are so many films now that have that kind of self-aware meta kind of quality to them. Like it's, and that's all because of Scream. Paved the way for films like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, Final Destination, and like even more recent films like You're Next and Cabin in the Woods. So many horror movies that kind of owe at least a little bit to Scream. So there you have it. Really quickly, before I leave you guys, you can head on over to my blog, where I will tackle an analysis discussion question about Scream. I'll do a video kind of on my blog posts in November when all the October craziness is over, but basically I'm going to be posting on there Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and it's going to be kind of like Tuesdays on here where it's like alternating days. If that, I'll make a video on it, don't worry about it. But on the Tuesdays that I do Dissecting the Macabre, I'm going to take that same film that I talked about that week. So for example, it's going to be Scream, and obviously I'm talking about the classics, so these are films that have been written about, discussed to no end. So I'm going to find a discussion question and tackle it. So it might be a little bit more scholarly-ish, less opinionated and more scholarly. And I may even, you know, if I can find a really good kind of like opposing viewpoint question, I may tackle that too, because that's fun too, whether you have that opinion or not, just to kind of explore that side of the coin. So maybe if I find a question about like why Scream isn't that great or something, I'll try it. I don't know how well that'll go because this is my favorite movie ever, but you know, we'll see what happens. So that should be up right now. So I'll link it in the description box. You can check that out if you want. Right, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here. Become a creepy peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday, and there's only a few more days of October left, but there's so many Shocktober videos for you to catch up on if you haven't watched them all already. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye.